Բարև ձեզ, բաց հարթակի տաղավարում այսօր
Good day. Today my guest is a genocide scholar, professor at Swedish Lund University, Svante Lundgren. We will talk about his books and activities devoted to Armenia and Artsakh.
գործունեության մասին։ Բարև ձեզ, բարի գալուստ։
Բարև ձեզ։
I know that you speak a little Armenian. What other words do you know in our language?
Well, I don't speak very much Armenia, but I have caught up some useful words and phrases, the normal things, bari Luis, bari Ereko, Shatlav, Inchpes, Ek, and a few other useful words like Juranots, Surch, Guinea, and things like that.
So this is your 12th visit to Armenia. What brought you to our country this time?
Well, first of all, I haven't been here for some time. Last time was last year in March, immediately before the pandemic. I normally come about twice a year, but I haven't been here for 1.5 years now because of the pandemic. Now I am fully vaccinated, so it felt safe to come. And what really brought me here was that I'm participating in a conference organized by the Armenian Genocide Museum Institute and the National Academy of Science.
So months ago, you and your colleague presented a book, a collection of essays entitled Armenia Monamou, which is about the reflections on Armenia and Artsakh by famous public figures and politicians. How did you decide to write such a book, and what was the purpose of this initiative?
Yes, this is the book, by the way, and it's co-edited by my friend Serafim Seppälä and I. And Serafim and I, we have known each other for some years, and we both share this very strong affinity with Armenia. And without having any, original connections, we don't have any relatives, we didn't have Armenian friends when we were young or anything like that. But something happened sometime in life, and we both came to be very close to this country. And we were talking that there are other people like us, non-Armenians who for one or another reason have grown to, have developed this interest in Armenia, or even say love for it. We can talk about love, this is more Armenia Monamou after all. And so we decided that, and we were curious about, okay, what brought them to this? So why don't invite people with this affinity to the country to write about it? What happened? How come that you developed this interest in Armenia? And how has this, your passion for the country, how has it developed during time? And how does it look now? And so we started to invite people to contribute. We knew some people, then other people gave us, said that you can ask this person, and we asked around and invited people to contribute. We invited a lot of people. Some did not reply at all. Some replied and said that I would love to be part of it, but just now it's impossible for me. But in the end, we were able to get a substantial number of contributors. So now there are 10 chapters, 10 different persons from 10 different European countries have written about their Armenia here. And there are scholars, politicians, journalists, a writer, people also from not only from different countries, but also from different backgrounds. And the purpose of this book is, of course, definitely to raise interest. We hope that non-Armenians will read the book, and after having read the book, if they haven't been to Armenia before, they will decide, okay, I must go and see for myself. And interestingly enough, when my contribution here, my chapter, I had it spell checked by a native speaker of English. And when she sent the text back, she said that having read your article made me want to visit Yerevan. And this is exactly the reaction we want from readers, to raise interest in the country and get more people to come here and visit the country.
And can you tell a bit about the content, the process overall? How did you choose those public figures?
Well, as I said, we asked around and invited many, and the content is we have 10 contributions, and every person has his or her own way. What happened? Most of them they did not have any natural connection to Armenia from the beginning, and for many it was quite coincidental. They met somebody or they started to study a subject. There is one contributor, he's a professor, and he said the first Armenians he learned to know were people like Koryun and Moses Khorenatsi, and only after that he met living Armenians. So there are many different ways to this Armenophilia, love for Armenia, and the contributors they describe this way for themselves in these sometimes very funny and entertaining articles.
And interestingly, Mr. Lundgren, in one of your interviews, you mentioned that during your first visit to Armenia, you were not so impressed by the country and the people. But later you started to understand the real value of Armenia. How did it happen?
Well, first of all, I'm a very late starter. I was almost 50 when I visited the country for the first time. And I liked it, but it was not like coming home and said, oh, wow, now I have discovered something. It was not like that. I liked it, but that's it. Then I came back another time, but what really got me into this was when I was part of an Armenian film project. Before the centennial of the genocide, I was invited to be part of a documentary movie that was made about the Scandinavian women who were eyewitnesses to the Armenian genocide. And I was the narrator of this film, which is called Map of Salvation. And when we were shooting this film, we were traveling for weeks in different countries. The film was shot in 9 different countries, and it was a completely Armenian film crew. I was the only non-Armenian there. So during this time I was living a very Armenian life because I was together with Armenians every day from morning till evening. And we also came naturally to Armenia to shoot some scenes here. And then was the premiere of the film in April 2015 here. So during that period I really got to know a lot of Armenians in many different countries. And that really started this passion for me.
And as a genocide scholar, you have written books on the Holocaust, the genocide of the Assyrians and Armenians. Regarding your research on the Armenian genocide, what were the main sources you used and what special episodes did you discover?
Right. Well, I have written mostly both scholarly and popular works on genocides in general and also on the Armenian genocide. I have not done very much original primary research in archives. I have done that, but not very much. Some of my books have been more like I have popularized knowledge. I have based myself on research done by the primary scholars and then try to present this to a wider audience. So that's basically been my approach here. Not like doing this real hardcore primary research, but really spreading knowledge about this genocide to the general public.
And regarding the recognition of the Armenian genocide, there were many countries like Germany. Germany also acknowledged special historical responsibility, but Turkey refuses to face its own history. And moreover, we are witnessing cases of political persecution against those who speak about those dark pages of Turkish history. In your opinion, nowadays, what are the main factors that prevent Turkey from facing its own history and recognizing the Armenian genocide?
Well, I think there are two reasons, and one is that Turkey is afraid of what will the consequences be of a recognition. Will the country be forced to pay compensation to the children and grandchildren of the victims, or even more, I think Turkey fear like territorial compensation of any kind. So to be on the safe side, to not risk anything, it's best to just deny. That's the Turkish attitude. But then there's another thing also, and that is, I mean, the Republic of Turkey is a quite young country, is less than 100 years old. And when it was established as a nation state, as a Turkish state, all nation states, they based their national identity on a narrative. And the big narrative in Turkey was and is in sum the following. The Ottoman Empire was in crisis, and the enemies threatened to split the empire completely. And the Christian peoples, and especially the Armenians, they collaborated with the enemies and almost brought the country to its ruins. But fortunately, Mustafa Kemal came and saved the country. So in this big narrative, the Christians, especially the Armenians, they are the bad guys. And then to like traitors, illoyal to their own country. So then after 100 years to change and say, no, it was not like that. The Christians were not traitors. In fact, they were victims of a great crime. They were genocide victims. It takes a lot to change that narrative and to change that perspective, which is the basis of the whole national identity. So therefore, it is not going to happen. I mean, there will be a time after Mr. Erdogan, and the new rulers might be better than Erdogan in some aspects, but they will not change this basic idea of the birth of the Turkish Republic.
And Mr. Lundgren, it has been repeatedly stated that the recognition of the Armenian genocide is directly related to our security. If a crime is not accepted and condemned, that there is a high possibility that it may be repeated. The pure example of it was the large-scale aggression in Artsakh initiated by Azerbaijan last year, and Turkey was openly supporting its so-called brother. I am sure you have been closely following the developments. And what were your thoughts after seeing such aggression and war crimes in the 21st century?
Yes, I definitely followed very closely what happened and also feel a lot of anguish for that. Of course, I was in peaceful Sweden. What I felt was nothing compared to what you felt who were here close to the events. But it was a terrible time. And I was, of course, like all decent people, very shocked by the aggression of Azerbaijan and the cruelty, the war crimes. And I was especially shocked by the near-complete silence of the international community. With a few exceptions, most countries, politicians, also my own country, Sweden, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, they were not willing to condemn the aggressor, not for having started the war, not for the several severe war crimes, not even for mobilizing Syrian mercenaries to come and fight in this war. Instead, what they did was that they were appealing to both sides to show restraint and to find a peaceful solution. And that will, of course, do nothing. What the international community should have done was to put strong pressure on Azerbaijan. You started this, now you have to stop it immediately, otherwise we will take measures. And the international community didn't do that, and with devastating consequences.
And the Azerbaijani propaganda tries to present the Artsakh conflict as a religious conflict to get support from the Muslim countries. What dangers do you see in relation to this policy in today's world, Mr. Lundgren?
Yes, in a general way you can say that in many conflicts there is a religious element, but most often it's not very prominent. The reasons for the conflict is something else. But religion is often used by some parties. In this case, Azerbaijan used the religion in order to rally support for themselves from other Muslim countries. And that is, I don't like that at all, not in this case, not in other cases. Religion should be kept out of these conflicts. I think it's an abuse of religion when you try to use it in this way.
And Mr. Lundgren, you always talk about Armenians, the Armenian history. What is the level of awareness about our country in Sweden? How do your activities affect your overall contacts with Turkish or Azerbaijani people?
I'm afraid that Armenia is not very well known in Sweden in general. We have a quite small Armenian community, which is also quite recently established in our country. It's about 12,000 people. So most people would know that, well, there is a country like that. It used to be part of Soviet Union. It's somewhere there, but unfortunately they don't know very much about it. And this is also one of my missions, I see, to raise awareness about, so that people would know, people would travel, visit, and so on. Then about my relations to, you asked about my relations to Azerbaijanis and Turkish. Well, I'm in the happy situation that I don't know any Azeris personally. I sometimes receive messages from Twitter warriors, very ugly, not nice messages, but that's part of the job. And I'm also in the very lucky situation that my Turkish friends, and I have some very good Turkish friends, they are smart and politically progressive people who are ashamed of their own country for not taking responsibility for its history.
Mr. Lundgren, and what plans do you have for the future? Are you going to present new books about Armenia?
Well, I intend to go on doing what I have been doing now. I hope to be able to visit the country more often than I have been able to do recently. I also, before the pandemic, I used to take a tourist group once a year here. It couldn't be done last year and neither this year. I hope next year to come back with a tourist group. I'm certainly going to lecture and to write about these things, but I don't have a new book in the pipeline that I'm working on right now, but definitely there will be new publications in the future. For now, I'm promoting this one, our latest book, Armenia Monamou.
And Mr. Lundgren, what impressed you the most during this visit to our country? What will you take with you this time?
Well, this was in that way a very special visit, that it was the first time I'm here after the war. So things have changed. Things have changed dramatically and to the worse. And I still, and of course you can feel it. There is a sense of loss, of sorrow, of anger in the air. Naturally, of course, when we think about the tremendous losses, so many lives lost. So of course there is sorrow and anger. But at the same time, I see an enormous resilience among Armenians, that they are insistent on that we will go on, we will go further, we will rise again, we will build a stronger, a better or more prosperous country. So in the long run, I remain very optimistic. I think the future of Armenia in the long run, right now it's a difficult time, but in the long run, the future is very bright. I see so much potential in this country, especially in the young and very smart generation.
Thanks a lot for the interview, Mr. Lundgren.
Շնորհակալություն.
We were talking to a genocide scholar, professor at Swedish Lund University, Svante Lundgren.
Հաջողություն.